Anthropic is storing your data and calling it safety. Let that sink in for a second. The company that made constitutional AI its entire personality, the lab that positioned itself as the responsible adult in the room while OpenAI chased consumer virality, just told developers using its Fable and Mythos tiers that their data will be retained for 30 days. Mandatory, not optional, not a toggle you can flip in some dashboard. 30 days of your prompts, your completions, your inference metadata sitting on their servers. And the justification? Trust and safety. The same two words that have become the universal skeleton key for any policy that would be unacceptable if a less popular company tried it. Here is the thing. Anthropic is not some scrappy underdog anymore. They are a multi-billion-dollar operation backed by Amazon and Google. When a company at that scale institutes a blanket retention window on API traffic, you do not get to call it a safety measure without explaining the mechanism. So let us talk about what 30 days of retained data actually enables. Point 1. Fine-tuning leverage. When you retain prompt completion pairs for 30 days, you have a rolling dataset that, in my analysis, can be used for reinforcement learning from human feedback, internal evaluation, or model distillation. Anthropic's terms say they will not train on API data for Fable and Mythos without consent, but retention and training are two different legal concepts. You can retain without training today and change your terms tomorrow. The data is already warehoused. The weights are one policy update away from being influenced by your proprietary workflows. That asymmetry matters. Point 2. Latency and routing metadata. It is not just your prompts. Retention of inference logs means Anthropic can see your token throughput, your request patterns, your retry logic, even the rough shape of your RAG pipeline based on context window usage. For any company building competitive products on Claude, this is an intelligence goldmine. Not because Anthropic is necessarily acting on it, but because the structural incentive exists. When a model provider can observe how its most sophisticated customers are architecting around its own product, the information asymmetry is staggering. Point 3. The chilling effect on sensitive use cases. Healthcare, legal, finance. These verticals were already nervous about sending data to any hosted LLM. A 30-day retention mandate, even if the data is encrypted at rest and access controlled, fundamentally changes the compliance calculus. HIPAA, SOC 2, GDPR, pick your framework. Mandatory retention is a liability vector, and enterprise legal teams will flag it immediately. The developers who were building production systems on Claude because they trusted Anthropic more than OpenAI are now staring at the same data governance headache they were trying to avoid. If you are still watching this, and none of it surprises you, you are exactly who this channel exists for. Subscribe. The industry needs more people paying attention and fewer people clapping at press releases. Now here is the counterargument, and I want to be honest about it because it is not stupid. Anthropic says this retention window is essential for abuse detection. They need to identify jailbreak patterns, catch coordinated misuse, and maintain model integrity across their ecosystem. And that is a real concern. Prompt injection attacks are getting more sophisticated. Adversarial users are probing these systems constantly. I get it, but here is why that argument falls apart. You do not need 30 days of raw data to detect abuse. You need real-time classifiers, anomaly detection on token distributions, and hashed pattern matching. You can build a robust safety pipeline on metadata and embeddings alone without ever storing a single plaintext prompt for a month. The fact that Anthropic chose blunt retention over surgical monitoring tells me this is not purely about safety. It appears to be about optionality. They want the data available for reasons they have not fully articulated, and they are using safety as the cover story because it is the one narrative nobody is allowed to question in this industry. So here is where we land. Anthropic built its brand on being the lab you could trust, the lab that would not cut corners, the lab that would choose caution over growth. And maybe that was true once, but a mandatory 30-day retention policy on your inference data is not caution. It is collection. And collection without a transparent, auditable purpose is not safety. It is leverage. So tell me, Is Anthropic still the AI lab you trust most? Or did they just prove that every model provider eventually becomes the thing they warned you about?